Hello guys, how's it going? This is the Amateurs guy speaking to you live from Tokyo again. Now, today is the 6th of June, Saturday, and in fact, this is my second video of the day. So it's kind of special. so, you know, this story, which I'm about to tell you today is about my experience some 40 years ago, and that is when I was merely 5 years of age at the time. Yeah, 5 years of age, that is. So, long time ago, that is. And that is when I have had a chance to visit this temple in Asakusa in Japan, right, and with my mother, which is now a tourist attraction that is difficult to miss if you are a visitor in Japan. Now, there, like every temple, they have this, what's called the omikuji, which is a fortune codex, no more than being a thin piece of paper, with your fortune written on it. Now, how you go by is that you just pay 100 yen coin into the pay box, and then you shake a wooden cylindrical container that has 200 wooden sticks in it, and then you turn that container upside down, whereupon there is a small hole in the container, which is big enough for a single stick to come out. And when the stick comes out, you will see a number written on it, whose number corresponds with the one of the many, the drawers, the 200 drawers, each of them containing a unique fortune codex. So, and for the for the first time in my life, when I was 5 years of age, I have had this compulsion to tell my mother that I wanted to have a go at buying a fortune codex. So, because I was interested, yeah. So, she paid for me. And however, there is only so much weight, a small child can carry. And I had to ask my mother for some help to carry this cylinder with me. So we actually, did it together. And me and my mother holding the same cylinder. So, we carried the cylinder together, and out came the stick, that said number one. Oh, in Japanese character, that is. And not knowing the implication of that number, we just opened the drawer that said number one, and the codex came out, and we pulled it out, and it was just no more than a thin piece of paper, and lo and behold, it said on the paper the number one highest order fortune, and because it's number one, and there is nothing higher than that. Wow. So, with an utmost surprise, we just exclaimed, "Hey, this is the number one Daikuchi, right?" To which there was a bystander, who looked to be a middle-aged woman, who said, "Really, Daikuchi? You don't have to pick any fortune codex for the rest of your life." Right, that's what she said, and and so like after thanking God at the temple and on our way to home, there were a lot of pigeons around the temple, and more pigeons than there are today, 40 years ago, that is. And while we were heading home from the temple, there's two pigeons, right? Two pigeons landed on my mother's arm, which was also the first time experience, and we were happy of this premonition. So why did we even go there? And why did we even go to the temple? So the reason is that it all started when my mother has had this epiphany a little earlier. And you see, it's about my mother. She, every day, it was her routine to recite Buddhist codexes without having the aid from the book, right? That's amazing, right? She has memorized everything, and she can recite every single word without the aid of the book. And one is called the Kannonkyo, and the other one is called the Heart Sutra, or Hanya Shingo. I think the two codexes are well known in a Buddhist world, in any country you go. And by the way, because I was listening to her recital every day, I was able to recite the Heart Sutra without the aid of the book at the age of 5, by the way. And that just be it as it may. And one night, when here's where it gets serious, yeah. And one night, when me and my parents were asleep, all of a sudden, right, my mother's body went afloat and reached the height of a ceiling, and as if she was defying gravity, and evidently, she was able to see me and my father sleeping from above. So she was looking at us from above, upon us, and whereupon this immense golden light had shone through the shoji, which is in a traditional window made of paper, and a Japanese window made of paper, so bright that that she has never seen of. She hasn't seen any light like that before, and it was in the middle of the night. And within the light was a silhouette of Kannon, the Buddhist god. It was there, whose outfit looked like that of a traditional, the hood worn over the crown, and so the whole silhouette was sort of vertically elongated, yeah, because he was wearing the god was wearing a crown and a hood, wearing a hood over it. And my mother at the time, she felt absolutely weightless, right? And while being engulfed in a golden light, and so much so that it was really difficult for her to tell if she was standing or sitting or afloat. You don't have this sort of cognitive control over your body at the time. So and the light, and as per what she said, unlike that of the electricity, the conventional light you see, was never painful to her eyes, right? As that is how my mother puts it. And despite the immense intensity, you would be blinded, right? And if you head over to the car, and if there was a headlight shining on you, you would go blind, because of the glare. But that wasn't the case with this golden and a divine golden light. And it felt more or less like being bathed in light, whose light felt really pleasant on her skin. That was her description. Now, the reason why, the reason I have had an epiphany today, or rather tonight, to tell you this story, is because, as being someone, right, me and my mother, by the way, who have lived and known how the world was like 40 years ago, it's like me and my mother have never imagined how the world would turn out to be like this, that of today. And I didn't mean this in a good way. We actually make this in a bad way. And whether you're poor, homeless, or seriously ill, as long as you have the righteous mind, He will be able to save you. And that is that is me and my mother's word to you. And however, I just want to let you know that as obvious as this sounds, if you do anything like bullying, stealing, blackmailing, or exercise violence, and all the bad things you can imagine, that makes it impossible for God to sort of extend His arm to reach you, to save you. Yeah. So it's like as Jesus has said in the Bible, and I'm no Christian, but going ecumenical from here. And as Jesus has said in the Bible, if you're hungry, right, knock onto your neighbor's door and seek help. And if that doesn't help, further move on to another house to seek help. And that is much, much better than stealing. Yeah? Good advice from him. Real nice. So as an end note, and I pray, yeah, that you would have the same epiphany to hold the righteous mind hereafter. And that is that will be your shortest path to salvation, and Kannon awaits you. Finally, all races are God's creation, right? No matter where you come from, and God awaits your ecumenical peace. And thank you so much for your time tonight. Thank you.